It is such a beautiful blessing to be able to wake up and do what you love every day. Not go to a 9 to 5 if you don't want to. Nothing wrong with the 9 to 5. But if you are an artistic, creative person who has always wanted to just be a singer, just be an actress, just paint, write all day, and you've always had that dream, once you get it, it is wonderful. But you know what also can come with it, and what most people experience? Burnout and being broke. Okay. Now, there are some of you out there who had a good sense of financial planning and organization, or maybe you had a really great paying job and you saved up a lot, so you didn't really experience the issue with the finances. But for a lot of artists, there's a reason they call us starving artists. There's a reason that when parents ask their kid what they want to be and they say a musician, they go, no, you're going to starve on the street. You need to go to college and get a job and get another career. And then later on, you can be an actor or singer, a musician, whatever. A lot of us struggle financially, including myself. And the burnout part, absolutely. I have battled with it over the last 6 years that I've been full time as a creator, as a singer, songwriter, and now voice actress. And I finally recognize the patterns, and I finally understand now how to prevent this. So it took me 6 years. I'm hoping that by the end of this video, you can learn from my mistakes, and maybe it won't take you 6 years of stress and struggle to learn these things. Okay? So anyways, let's talk about burnout first, because it's such a widely talked about topic and issue. It's not just creative entrepreneurs. It's not just in your career that you experience burnout. We experience it in every area of life when we're either going too hard, too fast. We don't have enough support. We're not asking for help. There are a lot of reasons. But when it comes to being an artistic entrepreneur, I think the reason that we get burnt out so quickly is a couple things. Number one, you aren't used to creating on demand. Okay? It's very different creating on demand on deadlines, a certain amount of days per week, a certain amount of projects per week, per month, where you have high stakes situations that people are expecting you to deliver tomorrow, Tuesday, Thursday. And, once you get popular, you get more and more projects, and now you're having to figure out how many can I take per week? What should be my timeline? 3-day delivery? Is that good? I don't know. There's a lot that goes into creating on demand that at first you were not used to. So first off, just stop and say, hey, this is new to me. Just like if you've never exercised in your life and now you're trying to jump into 5 days a week at the gym, right? You joined a CrossFit gym and now you're like, trying to do 5 days a week. That's a big jump, right? So it's okay to feel overwhelmed and exhausted in the beginning. It will get better if you set the right boundaries. We'll talk about that in a minute. But understand that part of it is just being on a new journey, right? You aren't used to having to constantly be on the ball creative, again, in a timeline. You probably have enjoyed using your talent, your creative art on your own time, right? For fun, for family and friends, to enter talent shows, whatever it is, not with a high pressure situation, not with timelines. And so you kind of have just created when you felt inspired. And that's cool. Obviously, when you start turning it into a career, it's unlikely that you'll be able to just create whenever you feel inspired. You will need to create on demand. And a lot of people ask me this. How do you keep coming up with ideas? How do you not get blocked, right? How do you not get creative blocks? I never get creative blocks anymore. And that's crazy to say, but I've realized that I have not had a creative block in years. Do I mean that I feel absolutely inspired all the time? No. There are times when I'm not inspired because I'm just tired. I'm thinking about something else. But in terms of feeling like, oh, I can't create, I can't write this song because I just don't know how to get the juices flowing. I don't experience that anymore. Why? Because creativity is partially a muscle. You can't force it, right? Just like if you have never deadlifted and you have 300 pounds in front of you, you can't force your body to lift 300 pounds. You'll rip and tear some things, right? You won't be able to do it necessarily going 0 to 100, but you can build the muscle to where you pretty much can always tap into that creativity. It is a practice and you will get better at it. Does that mean that every time you need to create something, you're going to create gold? No, sometimes you're going to create stuff and be like, I was really feeling tired that day. I was really stressed out. So I kind of made something I'm not proud of. And you may have to go back and fix it, add to it, change it on a better day, right? That's going to happen. But for the most part, creativity is a muscle that you can develop and flex over time. It gets better. So if you are in the kind of beginning stages or you're leveling up your creative entrepreneurship journey, it's perfectly normal for you to feel burnt out. Take a step back and take a little bit of pressure off yourself. Don't expect, being able to jump into something new and stabilizing it, in a heartbeat. What can we do when we're feeling that burnout? Take a look and evaluate if what you're doing at this point is something sustainable for you in this moment. Maybe you jumped in a little too excited, which is what I tend to do, and said, like, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week when I've never exercised in my life, right? You might have committed to a little bit too much too fast. So if that's the case, you can scale back and there's no shame in that. You can just be honest with people and be like, hey, I didn't realize how much energy and time was going to go into doing these projects. So, my bad. I'm actually going to need to extend my timelines with these projects by a couple days. So instead of a 3-day turnaround, it's going to be a week-long turnaround. Perfectly fine. Most people who are willing to pay you for your art, love your talent, and they're going to be okay with you being honest with them and just saying, this is going to take me longer than I thought. Just communicate, please. One of the reasons that and we'll get into the money part in a minute. One of the reasons a lot of artistic creators don't succeed is because they're unreliable. How do I know? Because I work with hundreds of producers, okay? Maybe not hundreds, more like at least 50 different producers, on a rotation, and they all tell me the same thing. They have the biggest issue with reliability. I am one of the only reliable artists they have. They'll tell me that. And I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't realize it was that bad. I didn't realize that a lot of creative people are so neglectful of timelines and communication. Why is that? Because we don't want to talk about business. We don't want to talk about customer service because we got into this for the art, man. And we're just all about creating. Don't put timelines on me. And I get it. But if you want it to be your full-time business, you're a business. Get over it, my friend. With love, I'm going to tell you, get over it. Okay. You need customer service. You need a little bit of business structure. It doesn't have to be nitty gritty, but you at least have to have a basic idea of how long each project will take you, when roughly you'll turn it into the client. That's just how it is, right? So anyways, be honest with people about your timelines. Don't just desperately, you know, make your business structure based on getting as many gigs as you possibly can. This is what a lot of us do, including myself. In the beginning, we get really excited. We want to go full time really fast. And so we'll say, oh, yeah, I could do that. I could do that. I could do it same day, no problem. And clients get really excited by that. So you get a lot of people, or if you are undercharging, you're undercutting the market, right? Oh, everyone's doing it for $100. I'll do it for 70. And you get all this business. You get overwhelmed really fast. And then what happens is, you start making mistakes. You start missing timelines because you're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, you're burnt out. My cat is screaming. Hopefully you can't hear it, but are you really scratching at the door? You never do that. He only does that when I turn the camera on. Anyways, set your boundaries from the jump. Okay. And sometimes you have to learn through trial and error. Like I said, maybe you'll say 24-hour turnaround is perfect for me, but when you start really getting into what you're doing and actually delivering for clients, you realize that that's just not realistic for you in your lifestyle situation. Cool. Scale it back 48 hours, 72 hours, a week, whatever it is. Set your boundaries as early as you can, and it's okay to change them, but just make sure you have them in place. Because a lot of artists get so excited to just do the thing that they'll take any price, any client, any situation with no structure. And, we know how that goes. If you don't set the boundaries, then people will expect that they can ask you to do something last minute, and you will because you always have. You always deliver. That happened to me. You're always the one that delivers. So we feel comfortable. They don't say this, but obviously they feel comfortable sending me same day turnaround stuff all the time. Once in a while, somebody sends me something that, hey, can you do this within the next few hours? Yeah, I got you. A lot of times I can do it. In fact, 90% of the time, because I work from home and I'm full time in this, I can do it. But if you don't set your boundaries, then those people will often just wait till the last minute to order stuff from you to request your services because you have not set any type of expectation of what or how you work. So, anyways, that's my rant about setting boundaries early. If you are in an industry where there are unions, and like I'm non-union, but there are unions in voice acting and acting and in music, and there are resources that show you the typical rates per hour, per project, whatever, for whatever industry you're in. Not every industry is super clear on it, but do a little bit of research so that you know when you start doing your thing. Maybe you'll initially start with more trades, more free stuff just to get your foot in the door and get some reviews, doing it for friends and family. But once you're really putting yourself out there as a professional artist, um, go by the rates as much as you can. Because again, another reason that artists get burnt out is that they try to undervalue and undercharge just so that they can get in the game. It's your choice if you want to do that. I did it, and yes, it allowed me to scale up quickly, but it also burned me the hell out. And I dealt with the consequences of rarely, but it happened more than it should have, letting orders fall through the cracks, sending the wrong orders, like just being all out of sorts because I was overwhelmed. So your level of quality will obviously go down if you are focused on quantity. Okay. With that, I need a little bit of espresso. Um, the other part of burnout, there's a little part of it that's, obviously about delegation. If you are doing everything yourself, in the beginning, you have to, right? You don't have the budget to hire an accountant or a bookkeeper and a social media director and a video editor and all that. So you got to do it all yourself, and that's perfectly fine. Again, when you're doing everything yourself, find a realistic amount of time that you're willing to and you know that you can put forth for said projects like social media, marketing, all that stuff, follow up with clients, invoicing. Make sure that it makes sense for you. If you are a single parent, you've got kids, you've got a full-time job while you're building your creative career, you are going to have a different amount of energy and time to put towards something than I will as an already full-time creator, right? Or that a person in their early 20s will who's still living with their parents. It's all about what works for you. But what I find too is that a lot of creative entrepreneurs, they get to the point where they have the resources to delegate certain tasks like bookkeeping, like having someone help with social media, um, having someone help with editing videos or whatever it may be. And they just are so afraid to let go of any control, which is understandable, that they just decide to keep doing it all themselves. That's absolutely fine if you want to do that. I have not outsourced to a video editor or social media person yet, but I have outsourced for bookkeeping and accounting because I am not good at that. I don't want to do it and I don't have time. Okay. If I had to sit down and do all of my own bookkeeping all the time, because I have a complex business, since I have my music stuff and my voice acting stuff, there's a lot of different dynamics in my financial situation that are a little bit confusing. So for me, it made sense to outsource that part. But a lot of people are afraid to give up control, and I understand that. Just know that if you want to do everything yourself 100% of the time forever, you are going to limit how much you can earn. Bottom line, right? And that's fine. If you're okay with that, you're okay with that. That leads me to my next portion, which is values. If we all based our lives, this is not just about career, but our finances, our health, our personal life, and our career, if we base it on values, I do not mean moral values, what your church tells you you should do, your parents, school. I mean, what is most important to you, what you really value, what brings you the most joy. If we just went off of our own values, we wouldn't get swindled into things. We wouldn't be convinced we have to do it this way. We wouldn't burn out so much. And we definitely wouldn't be so broke. And we'll get into that in a minute. Because when you're focused on your values, anything that doesn't fit into those categories, you're not going to put a whole lot of time and effort into, right? So if you really value being able to have freedom and flexibility, let's say, which is one of my highest values. My values go like this: freedom, that's way up there. Family actually comes first. Family, freedom, convenience and comfort, fun. Okay. They're not necessarily in a perfect order, but family is number one for me and my husband. We are super close to our family. So I need to be able to make all holidays. I will not work on holidays ever unless it's the opportunity of a lifetime. And in that case, I will get my family tickets to come with me, right? But otherwise, not missing holidays. Trying to miss as few big events as possible, weddings, big birthdays. We don't miss a lot of the important stuff because family is super important to us. We value our family. So that's something that has to come first. Freedom, having the freedom to literally be able to, my dad lives in Cali. I live in Vegas. He goes to Lake Havasu, Arizona every summer, like every single week, because he's a teacher. So he gets summers off. He has a part-time job, but it's flexible. So he'll take off to Havasu on a Wednesday and he'll call me up like, hey, we're going to be in Havasu hanging out at the lake if you want to come through. It's 2 hours, 40 minutes drive for me. My flexibility in my business allows me to get up, do a couple auditions or do a little bit of music work, take off and go to the lake. That's probably a 5 to 6 hour day or part of my day that's now, gone from my business. I can come back, have dinner, rest for a little bit, and then do the rest of my work. That is flexibility for me, and that is incredibly valuable. That may not be important to you. You may not care. You may not have a lifestyle where you need flexibility like that, but that's one of my values. So family, freedom, flexibility. What else did I say? Oh, convenience and comfort. So I love being able to record in my own studio. It's part of the reason that a lot of people are going to laugh at this, but part of the reason I don't want to be a performing artist anymore and why I don't focus a lot of energy on that. I don't like doing shows. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's travel. It's stress. It's money. It costs money to do shows between the outfits and making sure, depending on if it's pay to play or you've got to sell tickets, or there's always cost associated with it and time. And it's just not really fun for me. Like the amount of effort that it takes compared to the reward for me personally, no, thank you. So comfort and convenience is me building a career that I can do in my bedroom, in my booth, right? I have a vocal booth that I can do everything from. That's a value for me. Being able to do stuff from home and being able to mainly have actually 99% of the time have a completely off camera, faceless company. I go on here and I do social media, but I'm not making any money from social media yet. So really, I don't have to be on here. I don't even have to get dressed. I could be in my pajams recording. So comfort, and convenience is a big thing for me. And then lastly, fun. I have to do something that's fun. I refuse to do something that's not fun. Okay. Even when I needed a 9 to 5 job because I hadn't made my creative business full time yet, I did jobs that were fun, right? I was a personal trainer because to me, that was pretty fun. I got to have a flexible, free schedule where I was in control of when I took clients, and I'm into fitness. I was a gymnast and a sports coach for many years. So I had fun as a personal trainer. It wasn't my ultimate goal and dream, but it was fun. So that's my last value there is fun. What are your values? Because if you focus, like, why am I even talking about this? This sounds so off topic, but the reason that I bring this up is because if you are building your creative career based on what you think you should do, what others are doing, 100% on money, which that's not wrong if that is your main focus. This is not a moral debate. But you have to be honest with yourself. What do you really want? What do you really value? If you build your creative business based on what you think you're supposed to do, what's impressive, the accolades, the awards, again, those things are not wrong, but be honest with yourself. Is that what you want more than anything? Or is it the things that I just mentioned? Something similar, right? The flexibility, the freedom, the fun, blah, 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 whatever it is. If you do not build your career based on your values, you are going to burn out more easily. You're going to spend more money on things that are not going to move you forward. We'll get into the money thing in just a second. But naturally, because you're trying to chase someone else's version of your dream, you're trying to build the business of someone else's dreams. You're focusing on the wrong things. It has to be authentic to you and what you want and what you love. So while someone else's journey, like I am a singer, songwriter, voice actress, if you are one of those things, you may look at me and ask me for advice, well, how do I build my voice acting career? How do I build my songwriting career? I can give you tips. A lot of them might be incredibly helpful and point you in the right direction, but there are certain parts of it, if I'm talking to a singer, for example, that won't work for you. My stepdad is a drummer in a Leonard Skinner tribute band. Our journeys are very different. My advice, only 50% of it would be good for someone like him, because the other 50% is based on, my lifestyle of being a studio musician, a studio artist. That's not the same as being a performing artist. They are different. So it's really important to build something based on your values. Again, if someone comes in and says, you should be in the voice acting community, for example, you should be auditioning every single day, even if you're sick, like just push through it because you need to get in as many auditions as you possibly can. If you want to make the most possible money, in this business, that you need to hustle your face off. Yes, you do need to put in hard work, but not everyone is going to do 50 auditions a day. Okay. For various amount of reasons. For me, it's because I have another business, right, with my music stuff. So when I'm in my music business busy season, I'm not getting in 50 auditions a day. That's not going to happen. I'm realistic about it because I know my vocal capacity. And if I'm singing and then trying to do 50 auditions a day, I'm going to burn out. Okay. So for some people, aiming for this goal, working this many days a week is great. For other people, hell no, that ain't going to work. Okay. Now, how this relates to the financial aspect. As someone who has been broke, who has gone broke so many times, and even more recently, I have an example of this. Oh, I'm the best person to share this information. Not because I'm a genius, not because I'm rich, but because I know from failure and behaviors and habits and patterns that I can now see when I look back, I can share it with you with authenticity. So, why are most artists broke? Couple reasons. Number one, this is a very initially unstable business, right? When you first start out, it's very hard to get the data on exactly how much money you're going to make per month, per year, because it's up and down. And especially if you have multiple priced projects, they're all kind of at different rates. It's very hard to quantify exactly how much you're going to make regularly until you've been in business for a while. And you can see, okay, on average, I'm getting about this much per project. Okay. And I'm booking about this many gigs a week. And this has been a trend for an entire year. There's no perfect number, but I'd say at least a year, if not a little bit more than that, is a good, even a year is like, that's a good starting point. But I would say at least 2 to 3 years is ideal for budgeting, because from experience, I can tell you, you'll have some years that are just like incredible. You're on fire. There's so many different projects going on in your industry. There's certain events with voice acting. It may be political season, people that do political VO. Oh man, there's an election this year. I'm killing it. And then the next year, There's no election, or it's a COVID situation. And now, oh, projects have been cut in half basically because hardly anyone's buying, hardly anyone's spending money. Like things can be up and down. So ideally, you need a little bit more data. And when you first start out, you don't have that information. So you may say, okay, well, my current job, I make 5,000 a month, let's just say. So if I can just make 5,000 a month in my creative career, I can quit my job and be good. That's good to know. I think a lot of artists don't even ask that question. They don't even ask, how much do I need? I never did when I started out. And they don't also ask, how many projects do I need to do per day or per week to make that amount? More importantly, what projects do I want to do? Because maybe you can make 500 a week doing, oh God, I don't know. I'm just going to say something random. This might be totally out there, but pet portraits, right? Maybe people love pet portraits and you charge, okay, I'm going to charge $200 each. So I'm going to book, this many, or let's just do easy math, 250. If I can book 2 pet portraits a week, there's my 500 a week. Obviously that's not enough to survive, but bear with me. A lot of people don't even do that math, including myself. I didn't do that in the beginning. So the reason a lot of artists are broke is because there's instability. There aren't clear numbers and a clear path. And this is the part where the business has to come in. You got to learn basics of business. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to take an expensive course. You don't have to study something fancy. Just the basic breakdown of how much do I need to make a month to survive and eventually thrive, obviously. How many projects do I have to do at what price? And you can have spontaneity in there, right? A lot of times it's hard to quantify prices because you might charge per project. It depends on the complexity of the project. I totally get that, but just get at least a rough estimate. This seems so basic. Some of you might be like, yeah, duh, I've already done that, but you'd be surprised by how many people don't do this, including me. I didn't do this when I started. I didn't do this until I got a business coach who was like, let's look at the numbers. And I'm like, numbers? What numbers? I'm just going to get signed by a record company and they're just going to like give me $1 million and we're going to be good. She's like, okay, do you want to make this a full-time business and quit your job or not? I'm like, yes. And so she taught me to sit down and do the numbers. But also that leads me to talking about understanding what you really enjoy doing and what you're willing to do regularly that will allow you to make the money you need to make without burning out. We're all going to get tired. We're all going to get overwhelmed. We're all going to go through moments where we're just pooped, and that's normal. That's life. But on a regular basis, if you are trying to base your creative career on things that you hate. Like for me, I don't want to do shows. I don't want to perform on stage anymore. I don't really like it. So if I say, well, I can make the most money if I join a cover band or if I go sing, at different churches every month or blah, blah, blah. Sure, I can do the numbers and I can make that happen, but I'm likely going to burn out because I hate it. And, it's not something I'm willing to emotionally invest in. So you're going to have a harder time sustaining that financially if your heart's not in it. You're going to more often cancel and reschedule and put it off because you're not all the way invested. So really focus on the things that you enjoy, and that can take some time. You can start out as a singer and be like, okay, I'm not really sure what I want to do for money as a singer. So I'm going to try these 10 things. And you realize that you only like 4 of those 10 things. So, it might take some time to weed out things that you enjoy. It might change over time. I used to like doing custom anniversary songs for people. I hate doing that now. I don't want to do it anymore. So I'm not doing it. But for a couple of years, it was cool. It was fun. And now it changed, now I'm not into it. Now I'm more focused on, songwriting for TV and film. It's much more exciting, much more fun for me. When it comes to music stuff, I'm much more focused on, outside of my cheerleading music thing, which is a whole genre of its own. I'm more focused on projects that will pay me royalties. It's very little amounts, but when you stack them up, stack them up, stack them up, eventually you get a nice payout every quarter. So that has changed over time. Anyways, I know I'm all over the place and rambling per usual, but the point is The reason most artists are broke is because they don't have structure. Um, they don't have the data and the numbers, and they, like me, I did this 3 different times. They jump too far too fast. When you get a couple months of really good income, maybe even 6 months of really good income coming in, you're like, cool, that's how much I make now. So I can quit my job, right? And you do. And then you have a couple bad months and you're like, oh crap, what happened? Well, maybe what you're doing is a little bit seasonal. It's inconsistent. So you might have months, this is me, you might have months where you make over 10K. I've had $15,000 months in the fall. Usually it's September or October. I'll have a $15,000 month. But guess what? In March, I usually have a $2,000 month. Barely. For whatever reason, March it's because the end of the cheer music season for me. And voice acting is like okay in March, but it's not really like a month where there's any holidays or anything's coming up. So there's just not a lot going on in March. Okay. Historically for me. So I can go from 15,000 to 2,000 in, the span of just a few months. So when you don't have that data, you don't have that information to be able to look at and kind of average out, it's easy to go broke really fast. Also, not having any savings. This is a topic that is widely debated because a lot of people, including myself in the past, feel like if you are creating this big emergency fund, then you're saying, oh, just in case I fail, I'm planning to fail. No, you're not. Stop it. I used to say that too because I was all into the manifestation woo-woo stuff. I still like it, but I'm much more balanced now to where, yes, it is a positive, optimistic, and very helpful mindset to say, I know I'm going to succeed, so I don't need to plan for, failure, but having a cushion, not in case you fall, but just in case things don't happen in the perfect timeline that you imagine. Say, okay, I'm going to go full time in 6 months or a year with my artistic business. If there are certain factors that come up that extend that timeline a bit, it's not saying I'm going to fail, so I might as well make a plan B just in case. No, my friends, it's not planning to fail. It's just putting in a structure that assists you when things might be a little bit inconsistent, when unexpected life events happen. That's why I don't call it an emergency fund. I just say it's like my overflow, right? Having that overflow, having that accumulation in your savings account allows you to have those months where you make $2,000. And, just a couple months ago, you made 15,000. You're like, dang, I'm popping. I got this. And then you hit that $2,000 month, or you make nothing one month and you're like, because you were super sick. You're a singer and you're sick. What are you going to do now? Right? You can't sing. If that's your main source of income, you just want to have some sort of accumulation that can support you. Everyone has a different number. Some people say 3 months of savings. Some people say 6 months worth of expenses. That means, your basic rent, groceries, utilities, insurance, all that. It depends on your situation. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what the perfect number is, but I will say it's based on your life situation. So if you're like me, you don't have kids, you're married, but it's just the two of you, and you're in a city like Las Vegas where there's opportunity everywhere, your risk is a lot lower than someone who's a parent that has children, that has a mortgage, right? We rent. So us going broke is stressful, but the worst case scenario is that we can't pay rent. We have to negotiate with our landlord and pay late fees. Or if we got evicted, we downsize to a smaller apartment. We're not going to lose our house and go through foreclosure and, not be able to pay for the kids' needs. Like, it just depends on your lifestyle. It depends on your expenses. If you have a lot more risk, if you have a lot more to lose, then lean towards 6 months plus of savings before you jump into, quitting your job and going full time in your career as a creator. Or if you're already a creative entrepreneur, you should have that anyways. Start working on it now because, again, you're going to have unexpected times where a COVID hits and people aren't really buying stuff. The economy is being kind of funky, as it does every couple of years, and people are spending less money for certain periods of times. or there's some type of weird natural disaster, God forbid. You just don't know what's going to happen. So it's not living in fear. It's not living just in case there's trauma and failure and the world explodes. It's just having some structure in place that protects you. That's all. Okay. So those are the main points around burnout and being broke. If you are an artist that continues to struggle with money, this is my last point. Bringing the value system into your finances is really important too. This is where I went wrong. Initially, I was always broke because I didn't have any financial literacy or knowledge. If that's you, if you don't understand how to structure managing finances when you have inconsistent income, go get the education. Go on YouTube. I'm not affiliated with anyone. I'm not telling you who's the best. I personally felt that the best match for me was Ramit Sethi, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. I love his conscious spending plan idea, his building your own rich life idea, because it's not based on you needing to budget every single, I don't know, sandwich that you buy, every single t-shirt that you buy from Target. Like, it's not so strict and conservative, but it also has structures and systems in place that show you, kind of where you can be a little bit more lavish, and you can prioritize spending lavishly on things that you love, things for your business, and cut back on things you don't care about. Just his whole structure works for me, but get the education if you don't have it. There's so much free education out there, the books that you can buy, the courses you can buy, some of them are very cheap. Get the education. The other thing that happens is, even with the education, which I now have, there's the psychology aspect. So for me, over the past year, I've realized that it's now a psychology issue with me. And that is not basing my finances off my value system. So this is seeing something shiny. And in my case, it's not like, oh, a new car, a fancy vacation, clothes. For some people, it may be that. It's investing in my business, right? Well, that's the right thing to do. I need to invest in my business. Yes, but you also need to do it at your own pace, when it's appropriate to spend a certain amount of money in something, evaluate the level of risk and see if it makes sense for you, right? I ignored all that, and I would see opportunities to invest in something that I felt, because I've been told that, this could get me richer faster. This could double my business in 6 months, right? I always want to rush to the shortcut. And that's a psychological issue. I am impatient. I want the instant gratification. I want the shortcut now. I want to double my money quickly, easy, quick money. We all know how well that goes. I fell into that trap, and it cost me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Eventually, I'll share how much. Well, actually, I did in the last video. I said personal development. I've spent over $25,000 in the last 10 years. But yeah, half of that was really valuable, and the other half was fluff. The other half was me thinking that I can shortcut progress and shortcut work by just investing in this perfect strategy, this program that's going to change my mindset and blah, blah, blah. When you don't spend and plan based on your values and your business, you're going to get in trouble, right? You're going to spend $5,000 on a music video when you haven't even focused on your songwriting, right? You haven't even spent time crafting your music, finding your style and your sound. But someone tells you, no, you need to do, these high level music videos and spend money on that because you're investing in yourself. But should you be investing that right now when you're still trying to find your sound? Probably not. That's just an example, right? Using the most expensive microphone is not going to book you more clients. That's a big thing in the voice acting industry. They'll tell you, start with a mic that's like $200. That's fine. You're going to get a lot of business on that if you use it right and you have editing software that you know how to use. Like, you don't necessarily need the top tools. As you grow, you can invest more. And yes, it will level you up. But a lot of people believe when you're starting a creative career, any business, really, this is such an entrepreneur mindset. Invest the most money, get the best of the best because you present yourself as high level, and because you have that identity, you can charge high level prices. And that's not true. It's not true. People pay you based on your value, not your moral value, not your worthiness, but your value. Having expensive equipment does not get you more money. Okay. It helps you level up your sound. Sure, absolutely. I have a $1,200 microphone. Okay. But that was after using a $120 microphone for 5 years, and then a $290 microphone for 3 more years. I just got this $1,200 microphone a year ago. Okay, so I had almost a decade of using the cheapest microphones. Okay, so yes, I've leveled up, but that was after booking a lot of business on the cheap stuff. Okay, anyways, I'm going to stop ranting now, but I hope this has been helpful. Follow your values and base everything off of what's most important to you so that you don't get bamboozled into spending money you don't need to spend. You don't get bamboozled into focusing your time and energy on things that don't matter in your business. And set your own boundaries. Go at your own pace so you don't burn out. Love you guys. If you want to have more conversations like this, get coaching from myself and other people, your peers, in a creative entrepreneur community. Totally safe place where you can be yourself and share any questions, any comments, any thoughts, philosophical things you want to discuss. Join us in the Dreamweaver Academy. I always post the link in my videos now, so we'll see you there, my friends. Till next time.